Well, hello there. This is Shane from Shane's Reviews, and I hope you are having a great day today. So, we've covered in the last few weeks a couple books that were comical and a couple books that were maybe a little bit more serious. But today, let's go to the closet cache. What do I mean by that? The ones that I read that maybe I think are guilty pleasures. So, F. Paul Wilson, he has a series about Repairman Jack, and I believe that we've gotten to book 5. So that's what we'll be talking about today, which is The Host, and it was narrated by Christopher Price. Now, a couple things to know about Repairman Jack up front. He's a person that has spent the majority of his life trying to stay in the background, not in the foreground. He's an individual that has worked very diligently to get to the point where he doesn't have a social security number. He uses fake bank accounts and identities that he's created. So with that being said, the things that happen in this book start to challenge that more. And it seems like this is an ongoing dilemma for him of, do I need to be legitimate or do I continue to operate as I do? If I go legitimate, I can't do the things I do, and I feel like these things are important. So he has that self-struggle. The secondary portion is the way that poor Gia and her child continuously gets wrapped into these things. I mean, it's forever going. So, with that being said, the way that this book opens up, it's a little bit different. There's a scene where there's people on a subway, there's a shooting on the subway. Jack happens to be there and takes care of it. And unfortunately for him, this is a very public place, and it's going to be very, very hard for him to stay anonymous at this point. He ends up getting sucked into the stuff that's going on. So there's multiple instances where he's meeting up with this reporter saying, dude, would you just leave me alone, please? And it's funny to see. This reporter thinks he's hot stuff. He ends up using a identikit to try to match up the appearance of Jack, and he's going around asking all these people things and happens to run across one of Jack's friends, Bars, which is a complete dive. And then there's a pretty comical scene that happens there where he's asking the questions at first, and then Julio turns it around on him and it's like, no. Tell you what, go here, sit at this park, and we'll see what happens. So he ends up leaving a message for Jack and letting him know where to find the guy. And we just continuously go on the road from a purse snatching that Jack stops and fake interviews that are actually kind of real interviews, but Jack really just blows smoke at him. Jack continuously takes him down this trail of smoke and mirrors and all this. The things where the reporter is interacting with the cops and other people, and just the thrill of the admonishment, the way that people are now interacting with him where they wouldn't do before, all these sorts of things. He's starting to get a power trip. And in the main story, we know that Jack has a family, not like wife and kids, but more brothers, sisters, and father. And his father thinks that he's apparently a appliance repair person, mainly because one time he called one of Jack's numbers and got the message, Repairman Jack. His sister comes into play, and his sister has a friend that apparently has joined a cult. His sister gets wrapped into this with him in the book quite mysteriously by somebody that says, if you value yourself and the people that you love, call this person. And so come to find out, little did she know, all those little types of things, it's actually her brother that she calls. So there's a lot of foreshadowing as well that happens in this one that usually doesn't. So her friend is the one that is in the cult. Her friend has had a very rare type of a cancer, and there's a doctor that's going to perform this operation. And this is kind of where things start to get a little bit interesting, because the operation's already happened. This new treatment that puts a virus inside of the cells of this thing, and then another thing that attacks it to get rid of it. This is a very interesting concept, and it's actually something that we're closer to today than whenever the book was wrote, and there's actually been a lot of play with this sort of a thing, with the genetics and genetic engineering for that sort of a thing. It's kind of cool to see that even then, that was something that people were postulating, thinking, and considering whenever it comes to coming up with unique ideas and outside the box thinking for medical type stuff. But this is where the Repairman Jack story starts to take over. It can't just be as simple as that. No. And this is kind of where it gets fun. The cult that his sister is talking about is this group of people that are virally connected. There is apparently this great reckoning that they want to bring, and if you've ever read Repairman Jack, you know about the other. So the Rikoshi, or Rikosh. Yeah, Rikoshi. These things are part of the other. Then there's the instance where he was at the psychic hotel type of an event and ends up finding out the reason why in that story, Tesla abandoned this one particular project, and it was because it would link the two dimensions of the other and our world together so that yeah, the apocalypse could start. So what we can start to see coming from this series is that, you know, there is that common denominator of he's apparently going to be the chosen one to fight against the other at some point or another. I'm not going to say it's the best book that I've ever read because it is pulp, but if you're looking for distraction and you like that hero white knight syndrome type of an individual, then this will certainly fit that bill. Do you need to read all of the books for this to make sense? Not really. There's only a couple references to things that have happened in the past, but if you do want to pick up Repairman Jack, I would say at least start with the first one and make your choice from there. So what are some of the feelings or aspirations or dreams or concepts or ideas that came to me while I was reading this book? It was enjoyable. I had that fulfillment of reading a new part of a story that I hadn't read before, and so it's kind of unique to see where this is starting to head, because the last book that I read of his, it hadn't got to this point. It was the fourth one was the last one that I read. So that's kind of cool to see. There was maybe a little bit of hokiness in the narrations, and so that was a bit of a letdown, but on the same time it was joyful hokiness, I guess, because even though it was there, it wasn't like a really super bad thing whatsoever. It was just one of those things. Other than that, there wasn't like a whole lot of joy or stand up and rah and that kind of a thing. There was a few exciting points in the book, but there was a lot of catching up in between Jack and his sister and kind of going over the same point over and over again of yes, I accept you, etc. And that's kind of an important thing if the story continues to go in the way that it is, because this could be a reciprocating saw, and we'll see what happens there. Also, every once in a while in the videos I'll say this: if you guys have any suggestions on how to make things better, we welcome that. Do your thing down there, and we'll make that into the comment of the week as well. So if you enjoyed today's video, which I hope you did, give it a like, share, subscribe, and I'm not sure which one of these that YouTube is going to have you watch or which one it'll suggest, but if it's one of ours, I will see you in the next video, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Peace.